You know, guys, I was just thinking to myself how much I miss G-Juice. It'd be really awesome if G-Juice was here right now. But alas, I guess I'm just gonna have to go without. Really sucks when you think about it, but I mean, what can I do? Oh well. Well, crap. Looks like I'm not actually online. Of course I'm not! Damn it, Twitch! I did that whole joke for nothing. Hang on. See if we can force Twitch to go live here. Come on, Twitch. Come on, Twitch. Make it work. Make it happen. You can do this. You know, guys, I was just thinking how much I miss G-Juice. It'd be really nice if G-Juice was around here, but I guess I'm just gonna have to go without. Oh well. I guess I'll just live without. Sniffle, sniffle.
Loktar!
Oh, the Quillboars are our enemies, with some just prove to be more of a nuisance than others. The Razormane tribe has been attacking our supply caravans that roll through here from Orgrimmar. I have scouts seeking the leader of these raids. But until then, any losses you can inflict on the filthy pigmen would say goodnight to Nero's ass.
Go forth to victory.
Strength and honor.
Are you familiar with plane striders? Useless animals, can't fly, gamey, brain the size of a knuckle, too dim to get out of the way of a moving cart. I've broken more axles thanks to their thick skulls. Sometimes I think the Quillboar intentionally frighten flocks of them into the path of our caravans just prior to an ambush. Make me proud. Cut a swath through those filthy birds.
Go with honor.
Death to the Razormane, and to the living. Wait, there's no one home at the moment. I could go full tilt. And to the living! There we go. Full volume. Actually, that still wasn't full volume, because I just realized there's neighbors. Hopefully they don't.
May your
have
blades never.
I just picture sometimes what the neighbors think when they hear me actually go full volume. So I gotta share something. I was looking at a few of the artifacts, and I'm gonna spoil something huge. Biggest spoiler in the universe. Ready for it, guys? So there's a weapon you get that's an artifact weapon in Legion. And it's the weapon for Brewmaster, the spec I am. Brewmaster monks. Tank monks, in other words. Artifact equip events. Grants the Flaming Keg ability, which does exactly what you think it will do. I just had to share that tooltip with you. You? What's this? There's an orc out here. An orc.
Me not that kind of orc.
Help me, monk. Piggy men, come burn stables. Fire. Fire. Wolves still chained inside. Someone has to save wolves. Okay. I will save the wolves for the horde. Hang on. Fishing artifact. Let's see. Teleport to the nearest fishing node. Increases chance to... so you could set it up to increase chance to gain fish. Certain specific fish up. You also have the ability to become a fish while underwater, which allows you to breathe and swim rapidly. You also have a chance to catch the blood of Sargeras when fishing in the Broken Isles. You also have a chance to catch boots when fishing on the Broken Isles. All of those are things you can get with the fishing artifact. Would you stop cowering? Fool! I throw beer at you.
Me busy. Leave me alone.
Okay. No, I'm sure it won't be hideously, horrifically corruptive, guys. It'll be fine. It'll be the best. I'll just stand in the fire here for a second. Oh, never mind. Here we go. See you around, Corwin. Enjoy your GIF making. Because that's how it's pronounced. Blade of the Black Empire. I don't know what that is, but it sounds very impressive. Well, you mean aside from the obvious fact that they would fail psychotic? I mean, seriously. I don't know, though. Depends on where he actually is at the moment, which, as I've mentioned before, we don't actually know the answer to that. So yeah, we're going to kind of blitz this zone. Yeah, GIF. That's what I said, man. GIF. 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 GIF! That's apparently the Shadow Priest weapon. Got it. Well, yeah, obviously, given... Well, let's just say that I know the Shadow Priest quest arc. And I'll just leave it there. I'm not going to spoil anything about that right now. You know what? I have a mount. So, would you believe that once upon a time, the Barrens was actually a lush, thriving place of woods and trees, and wonderful, amazing joy that involves, you know, trees and all that other fun stuff? Oh, God, that hurts. So what's your idea, Bregman? God, my back is absolutely killing me today. It's just sitting there hurting, and there's nothing I can do. Like, no matter what position I sit in, it just hurts. Maybe if I like go like this. Yeah. I'm trying to find some position where it doesn't hurt to sit here. Okay. Talk to me. Did I just lose the internet? No, I appear to be online. Hey, buddy. Talk to me. Hang on. Anyways, so yeah, no, this used to be once a lush, beautiful forest. It was actually part of the overall Greater Ashenvale Forest. In fact, if I'm not mistaken... Nope, wrong one. There it is. Let's see. So that's there. That's there. So yeah, you see... Okay, you can't really see, but the forest that's like at the center of the screen right about here is... right about there, actually, excuse me. Is pretty much where... this whole area right here is where the Barrens was. And you can see the forest and the mountains there. Hey, he's actually over here. No wonder.
What?
You saved a wolf, so brave. Someday maybe you'll get wolf just like that to arrive. What I do now? I actually stretch daily. It just doesn't seem to help. Something is literally wrong with my back the last few weeks. It's a new pain, and I'm not sure what's causing it exactly. Anyways, enough about my stupid problems. So this used to be a lush, beautiful land. What ended up happening was there was this event called the Sundering you may or may not have heard of. And as a result of the Sundering, the entire water table and seed basin and most of the animals that lived here were all basically destroyed. It's under my my right... It's like, I'd say about 3 inches below... No, maybe more than... It's lower right back, towards the middle. But it's underneath... It's not underneath, it's like below my shoulder blade over there. Anyways, welcome back, Doctor. So yeah, as a result of the natural things you would expect to happen when something like a sundering happens... No, damn it. The vast majority of the life in here just slowly stopped being. This is actually, yeah, no kidding, dude. Just like I said, it's a new spot for me. this is also kind of interesting to me, because this is one of the only times where Warcraft as a setting acknowledges ecology. It does it a few times. It did it several times in Outland, for example. But, wow, 0 out of 2. But yeah, so the idea here is that, you know how we were talking jokingly, admittedly, about what it would be like if we got rid of all the spiders, for example, and how much of an effect that would have on the ecology overall and the biome? Well, imagine... Thank you, Horton. Imagine if you had a biome that where basically all of the... a certain type of animal just died out in it. In this case, we believe it is actually the majority of the predator races were wiped out, which led to just a complete destabilization of the entire region. The herbivores went out of control and overpopulated, which led to the woods being destroyed, and the night elves couldn't deal with it because they were dealing with their own problems. And the long and the short of it is that the Barrens went, well, excuse me, this area went from being lush green forest to a place that's referred to as the Barrens. And I do find that fascinating and interesting, the way that worked out. Because it wasn't actually done by some magical corruption or, you know, fell energy being infused in the land. As much as I like that kind of thing, I do like the mundane every now and again as well. My friend and I were actually talking about that recently. If I can diverge for just a second, because this is really off topic. Yeah, I saw that, Fearsome, by the way. Old gods are evil. There you go. Also insane. Also void. They use void energy almost exclusively. There is still enough plant life to support a new ecosystem, just not the old ecosystem. That's my point. And that's what I like about it. I mean, there is still a whole ecosystem, a whole new biome here. It's just not the forest like it used to be. Anyways, if I can diverge for a second, this is one of the things that I really like about The Arrow, which is a television show, for those of you not aware. Here's the thing. I like big, awesome, epic scale stories. I do. I like Lord of the Rings. I like Star Wars. I like Star Wars the movies. I like Superman stories, you know? But you know what I also like? I like stories that are much smaller, much more down to earth. I like the stories about the little guys and figuring out what they're doing while the big stuff is happening on the side. And that's pretty much what The Arrow is. Especially going alongside Flash, which is much higher scope and scale, right? So, what I'm trying to say with relation to Warcraft is, as much as I love the big, awesome, epic, we are the hero of the entire setting story, and I do, I love that, I also like when we get to see the little stuff here and there. And it's not that often, but it's one thing Kata did very, very well. The overall story of Kata can actually be described very simply. The Cataclysm, and it's actually quite apt, you know? Yeah, Oliver Queen, if you prefer. You know, the Twilight's Hammer, the Naga under Ashara, the forces of Inzoth, and 2 of the Elemental Lords have decided they want to destroy the world, and they're actively doing it. And Deathwing's flying around trying to make it happen as we speak. Okay? There you go, there's Cataclysm. But that's the big story. As we go throughout these zones, I hope you've been paying attention, as there's been a dozen little smaller stories along the way. Some of them will have some long-term significance, but most of them won't. And I like that. I like seeing the smaller perspective on things. Now, you might be asking, well, what does this have to do with The Arrow? Well, allow me to elaborate. The one big reason why I'm very much in favor of the Arrow concept is because of the fact that it's a television show. If you're going to do a series of movies like, oh, I don't know, say the MCU, you're going to run into a problem very quickly. It's going to become harder and harder to do smaller stories in a movie because of the format of the movie, right? You've got all the primary focuses on the big, massive Doom events, so you can only spare minutes at most for smaller things if you choose to do so at all. Television shows do not have that time restraint. They have tons and tons of episodes and tons of time to flesh out the littler stories. This relates to WoW, because WoW as a whole has been facing the eternal dilemma that all MMOs ever have always faced. Content production for forever. And the majority of content production, basically from Kata on, has been entirely... really? Really? I am so gonna report you if you start killing quest NPCs. Anyways, the majority of the content production has all been geared towards the big stuff. from Kata onwards. We've seen a couple of smaller stories, but for the most part, it's all the primary focus stuff. And that's a bit of a shame, because there are lots and lots of little stories that still should keep going, that I would even myself argue don't really belong in the main game anymore. You know? So what do you do? How do you flesh out the little stuff? That is a interesting dilemma to be perceived. Okay, so he hasn't killed quest NPCs yet.
Sub.
You have done well, Iron Man. Those insolent Quillbore will finally learn the might of the Horde is not to be ignored. Pigmen running amok on the border of Durotar. Not on my watch. It is as they say, the best defense is crushing all who oppose you. One of my scouts followed the Quillbore after the last caravan raid, so we know where to strike. Kreenig Snarlsnout is the mastermind behind these attacks. Crush him, monk. Defeat him and disembowel his forces so that the attacks on this camp cease.
Strength.
Lokta.
Have you collected the Planestrider beaks? Very good. That's one less thing to worry about on the road.
Fight well, friend.
Whatever has happened in southern Barrens is causing some of the Quillbore tribes to flee in our direction. The displaced Razormane in particular grow desperate, and their attacks grow bolder. I've lost 2 caravans this week alone. Our warriors at the crossroads desperately need those supplies, and I'm not about to let the Quillbore grow fat off of their misdeeds. Find the missing supply crates and bring them to me.
May your blades never dull.
Excuse me. So, North Darren's, yes it is, Tom and Korea. Although I forget if it's in North or South Barrens, I believe. Well, I don't know, we'll find out. Anyways, North Barrens isn't quite connected to anything story-wise, not really. But the next 3 zones I want to do pretty much back to back to back. Because Ashen Vale leads into Stone Talon, leads into South Barrens. It's actually basically one story arc throughout all 3 zones. On both sides, no less. And so we're going to be kind of doing those zones in a particular order. Obviously not today, when we get there. So North Barrens is our last, basically, pause point. And you might ask, well, what is the overall story arc between those 3 zones? I'll give you it in one word. War. It is all about the war between the Alliance and the Horde. It's in fact one of the strongest zones that touches on that subject and exactly how screwed up the war really is and why both sides really shouldn't be at war at this point in time. We will see just how bad Garrosh is willing to be when we get to Ashenvale, and we will see just how messed up the Alliance are willing to sink to. And we'll see how both sides are overall lessened by this incident. So, of course I'm going to be doing Wailing Caverns. I'll be doing it when the story adheres to it. I mean, that's when I did Ragefire. Although I think I can't even queue for it now. Not that it matters. I wouldn't queue for it anyways. Yeah, we won't be doing Shadowfang Keep on these characters at all. We will be doing Black Fathom Deeps when we go through Ashenvale, though. Damn it. Other players, other players. What was I going to talk about? So the Barrens, believe it or not, is actually where the Horde actually started off in WoW in general, really. The Horde overall didn't actually land in Durotar specifically. They actually landed in here, in the Barrens. And they encountered the Tauren here pretty quickly, actually. And pretty much immediately said, we will help the Tauren no matter what. Also, this is a weird position. I don't know if you can tell, I'm like completely twisted to the left here. And it doesn't hurt, so I'm staying like this, but it's really uncomfortable. It's a weird circumstance. But I'll take discomfort over pain. Anyways. The Man-Flu. The Man-Flu must be destroyed, young one, or all will perish. Hello, Magister. Wow, there are a lot of other players here. One gold. Anywho, so this is where the Horde basically began. The Horde as we know it, anyways. You know what? I have this ability. And this is where the pact was basically formed between the Tauren and the Trolls and the Orcs. Now, the other fun thing about this zone is absolutely critical to the function and survival of the Horde. At least it used to be. So, you might ask why these zones in particular are the focus of the war. Well, there's two big reasons for that. First of all is obviously resources. As I've said many different times, one of the biggest problems for the Horde, and one of the biggest reasons why Garrosh became, you know, the juggernaut he was as a leader, was because of the fact, that they needed resources. And Ashenvale was a brilliant source of resources for the Horde. But the second reason is because of the split between the Barrens. For those of you not aware, there is now North Barrens and South Barrens, and as we will actually go see visually, there is a gigantic chasm of lava in between the two. A huge chasm of lava that's basically insurmountable at the moment. Excuse me. And, yeah, I shouldn't have to explain why having this giant chasm of doom in between one of your biggest trade hubs ever is really, 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 really required for the continued function of an organization. To give you a little bit of an idea of what I mean, here's the Orc capital, here's the Tauren capital, here's the in-between. You could literally see the chasm on the continental map right there. You see it between the two? Look at that. That is actually a decent question, Magister, but the answer is actually fairly simple. Remember, the Tauren will not over-mine, over-harvest, over anything. Respect. I talked about that when we were playing our Tauren. So in order to be able to... they are actually sharing resources with the Orcs. It's one of the reasons the Orcs can survive at all. Just survive. Never mind thrive or exist. In Durotar. But they are unwilling to basically pillage Mulgore to the extent that would be necessary to actually fully supply the Orcs in general, ignoring the fact that a group over here supporting a group over here... I mean, in lore, the distance between Orgrimmar and Mulgore is not insignificant, and the travel through the Barrens is actually a treacherous thing. Which brings me to my point. So, after losing that, the Southern Barrens link, all of a sudden they don't have a cohesive link down to Mulgore anymore. It practically split the Horde in two. So holding on to North Barrens and Stone Talon Mountains and all this area around here suddenly becomes very, very, very important because it's their only link between each other. Keeping in mind Mulgore themselves Mulgore is actually under attack by the Alliance at this point in time. And fair enough, that was a very smart military move for the Alliance to make, going straight after Mulgore. If they had actually managed to take Mulgore and bring down Thunder Bluff, unlikely. But if they had managed it, that'd be the war right there. The Horde would never be able to recover from that.
What do you need?
Cut off the head of their leader, and chaos ensues, Ironman. Learn this lesson well. It will aid you in the future. Well done, Ironman. Without Krennic to orchestrate the raids, my grunts should be able to keep Farwatch secure. Your people should be proud to count you among them.
Go with honor.
Mokra.
How goes the search for supplies, Ironman? I trust the Quillbar fall under your strength easily. Thank you. This will help us greatly. I'll get these supplies packed up and on their way to the crossroads immediately.
Strength.
Have you ever used one of these? It's a giant elephant gun. It's a beast. Hell with a hand grip. Too heavy to use on foot, but perfect when riding at the head of a caravan. I call it the Street Sweeper. We need those supplies collected, and we need to get those supplies you collected to the crossroads. And I expect trouble. I'd like for you to ride shotgun. Literally.
Go forth to victory.
Let's do it.
Strength.
Oh, I know, Magister. If only that had actually succeeded. Wouldn't that be incredible? So this is awesome. We're literally protecting the caravan. Instead of just boringly walking up there or gathering herbs as we go up there. No, no. We've got a giant frickin' shotgun that we're shooting Quillbor who are attacking the caravan with. By the way, this is the other reason the Barrens is such a critically important tactical location for both the Horde and the Alliance. But in addition to that, why it's been so difficult for the Horde to actually lock down on it. Because this place is absolutely swarming with a huge number of threats. This is actually where the Quillbor are centered. This is the specific spot where the Quillbor... by the way, here's my gun I've got. Check that thing out. Anyways, this is where the Quillbor are... This is their capital city, is here in the Barrens. In the Southern Barrens, specifically, but in the Barrens in general. And there's tons of harpies there, and this is where the centaurs were... Past tense, the strongest. Now Desolus is pretty much all that's left of the centaurs. So yeah, the long and the short of it is, this is a place that is very, very vital to the Horde, and having that giant chasm going down the middle of it completely disrupted the entire Horde. It is actually debatable if the Horde can recover from that. If only Neralex actually succeeded, everything would be different for the Horde. Literally everything. It would be amazing. And he's a night elf, by the way. But I still wish him well. Because why wouldn't I?
Makraw.
Mokraw, are you here for the watch? You're a sight, Darren. That's the first caravan to make it through this week.
Strength.
What can I do for you?
It is our instinct to simply lash out at our attackers, but wisdom dictates another path. We should interrogate one of these Quillbor invaders and learn all we can. Take this net, ensnare a Quillbor pillager, club the beast unconscious and bring him to me.
May your blades never dull.
Why would you want to destroy the Horde, Permeus? What the heck?
Blood and thunder.
Hey, it's...
Strength.
Who's this guy? It's Man Crick. Oh my god. Go ahead and get the joke out of your system. Just do it. Just do it. Get it over with. Get it over with. It's okay. It's okay. I'll wait. Okay, that's good enough.
Strength and honor.
They murdered my wife. They burned my homestead. Since that awful night, I have traveled these lands, from the sun's rising till its decline, scouring the horizon for more of those monsters. I've killed every pig man I've come across, but my thirst for their blood is far from quenched. You could help me. Kill them. Kill as many as you can. Bring me their tusks and we will celebrate their deaths together.
Go with honor.
So here's the thing. Back in Vanilla, there was a quest to find the loss of find out where his wife went. What actually happened was a massive Quillbor raid attacked him and his farm. He tried to defend against it, but he didn't actually succeed. You know, he did the best he could, but he was defeated and recovered by a druid. But he couldn't figure out where exactly. He couldn't figure out where his wife was. So there was a quest back in Vanilla to try and help him find his wife. Well, you know, spoiler alert, his wife was dead. She was actually killed by the Quillbor. And that was the conclusion of the quest, basically. Here, in Cataclysm, he has now reached the point where he acknowledges that she's dead, and he has been killing Quillbor ever since. This is actually the monument to her. Olgra. It took forever to find you, and now you are gone. So this guy, he's had a pretty harsh life. He was married to her for a very long time. This is one of those childhood sweetheart situations. They'd been together since kids, basically. And she's dead. Now, he's actually a member of the Burning Blade clan. Or was. I know, that's actually contradicted in Warlords. But everything in Kata and in Vanilla indicates that he was a member of the Burning Blade. That's actually kind of significant because that's kind of Burning Blade mentality in a nutshell. Once their fire gets roused, it never stops getting roused. So that's why he is so fixated and obsessed on this. Even more so than a normal person would be. I mean, don't mistake me, I'd be very, very upset if my wife was killed by Quillbore. But I don't think I would spend the last 3 years murdering them nonstop as a result. But he would, because he's Burning Blade. That's pretty much how they think in a nutshell. Everything taken to an extreme. Obsession, fixation, that kind of a thing.
Thrall Hall.
Nope,
Go
nope,
forth
nope,
to
not ready for that.
victory.
And yeah, the Horde has been kind of suffering for quite some time, really.
Zug zug.
They came from nowhere, Monk. Quillbore from the horizon to horizon. Spines and snouts and teeth.
For the Horde.
So, you remember how we saw that the Shatterspear tribe of the Trolls had been pushed by Garrosh and the disgusting Horde into pressuring the Night Elves in Darkshore? Well, what we have here is a situation where wave after wave after wave of Quillbore have just suddenly started swarming into the North Barrens. Well, that's a problem, because right now the North Barrens is the only pipeline Orgrimmar has to any of its other territories, because they haven't actually claimed Ashenvale yet. And, spoiler alert, they never will succeed at claiming Ashenvale. So, North Barrens is their last surviving trade route and pipeline to any of their other territories. They need this place, and at a point at which they are desperate, locked away, low on resources, and otherwise just screwed by the Cataclysm, this is the point at which the Quillbore decide to attack in full force. I think I will continue to call them the Disgusting Horde. Because it's actually fairly apt if you think about it. It's okay, there's also the Disgusting Alliance. But we haven't really interacted with them yet. We will. Oh, we will. Right, I need to get a pillager. You know what we really need to do, Permeus? Why don't we just get rid of this alliance? I think that's a good idea. Just remove them from the situation entirely. No, I'm kidding. Although, as has been pointed out many times, the Horde is far more an alliance than the alliances. Especially now, after the Garrosh incident. The Disgusting Horde united the Horde so much. I would really love it if somehow... I mean, this would literally never happen. They'd never allow this to happen. But it would be really funny to me, and very interesting to me, if they reached a point where, excuse me, the, like, several member races of the Alliance, politically speaking, as an overall force, started, abandoning the Alliance in favor of working together with the Horde, because of a new, you know, diplomatic peace initiative on behalf of the surviving Horde, which at this point is run by Vol'jin, and primarily consists of Tauren and Trolls, since the Orcs have really shrunk in terms of numbers, power, politics, military, etc. So, yeah. So, now that we've gotten rid of most of the Orcs, can we have peace? No, I know what you're thinking. Oh, that's racist. No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is we got rid of most of the people who were a problem, and the Alliance is racist. No, they are. Most of the Alliance's problem with the Horde has to do with the problem with Orcs in particular. They hate the Orcs. Orcs did all sorts of horrible, terrible things, and therefore all Orcs are evil forever. If we go to them with that diplomatic perspective of, hey, you know, we're not, you know, all the Orcs are... There's not that many Orcs. I mean, we could have peace now, I'm just saying. And, you know, we could actually have, you know, some interactions, maybe? You know, diplomacy, something. Anyway, I mean, you were willing to not try to decimate us when we were at our, ironically, most united. That's another interesting fact, by the way. Militarily, the Alliance absolutely would have rocked the Horde after the events of Pandaria. But I find it fascinating because, once again, I'm not sure the Alliance would actually win that battle. I mean, I know what you're thinking. What? Of course they would. They have all the advantages. Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win. You know? Pound! I apparently killed him. Oh, nope. Oh my god, I'm dragging him by a rope. Wow. What's up, Deutsch? What was I saying? I'm literally just dragging this guy through the dirt. This is great. You can tell because of the sound. Oh yeah, this is definitely what a Pandaren would do here. Absolutely. Oops, I'm not taking him to you. I'm taking him over here. I gotta go even farther. Sorry, buddy. Sorry. Anyways, my point being that the Horde would not go quietly. And they would definitely... well, let's just say that we've seen other situations where a smaller power has defeated a larger power. Cough, cough, Warcraft 3. Cough, cough.
Glory to the
Don't be too harsh with our captive. Oh yeah, sure, I'll just drag him through the dirt for like 100 yards or... Suppose he'll come around with some cold water to the face. What do you think he'll tell us? I'll secure him inside the livestock pen. I don't think he'll stay conscious for long. Find out what you can about why they're attacking our farms. I'll leave the interrogation methods to your best judgment.
farewell.
I think it would be possible to get to interact peaceably with the Quillbore. Hell, the Scourge can manage it. Certainly we can. So let's see. I can ask him questions, punch him, kick him, offer him food, or tickle him. What do you guys think? Any ideas? I don't know. First thing I saw was tickle time. I'm thinking we might have to tickle him. No, stop. Battlemaster Tortusk never prepared us for this. Wow, instantaneous success. Just instantaneous success. Into the flames.
Speak, friend.
Very interesting. Our brute here seems both enthralled and terrified by the one they call Tortusk. A powerful leader can inspire his people to great acts of atrocities, but we orcs would know that more than others. Oh, you're telling me! In the wake of the chaos down south, this Tortusk brute seems to have rallied all of the Razormane refugees to his banner. Under his leadership, he's turned them into little more than brigands. There's no negotiating with his type. He must be destroyed. If our prisoner is to be believed, you'll find Tortusk southeast of here, at a place called Thorn Hills. Search the bluff where he has a commanding view of the road. Kill him, and the immediate threat should cease.
Dabu.
That is totally what a Pandaren would do in this situation, by the way. Just, yeah.
Thrall, huh?
You take my task seriously, and for that I thank you. Although my desire for revenge remains, I can at least smile seeing the Quillbore have felt pain themselves.
For the Horde.
There's a...
What do you need?
Friend, if you are traveling south to Thornhill, I was wondering if you could locate one of our missing Kodos. Not every caravan has made it far past here.
For the Horde.
Hang on a moment. Why am I allowing duels? There should be a don't allow duels thing. Is there a don't allow duels thing? Seriously, I thought there was. Yeah, whatever.
Speak, friend. Be safe.
Somewhere. I have to admit, I enjoy the aesthetics of the Barrens greatly. This is what I feel the ideal of Durotar should look like. Not quite as incredibly barren and desolate as Durotar is, but rather a rugged land, you know. Still has lots of life, though. Still has lots of potential for existence and survival within it, rather than just being this harsh wasteland of doom. Now, of course, these are the thorns I actually told you about all the way back in the Tauren zone. As you can see, they tend to grow those thorns extensively. Now, for some reason, they don't have the desolate land around here as much. It's still more desolate around where the thorns are, but it's not as desolate as it should be. I can only chalk that up to art design problems, because in lore it should look pretty desolate, as we've already discussed. Yeah, ironically, the Cataclysm may have been the best thing to ever happen to Durotar. That river might add a whole new water table, which might lead to actual plant growth, which might lead to a revitalization of the soil, etc., etc. That's pretty long-term, though, unless they get some druids in there. Get some druids in there. God, get some druids in there, you idiots. Sorry. The poor, battered Kodo still looks to be on the verge of death, but he is breathing. The Razormen haven't even plundered its cargo. If it can be revived, you may be able to save the entire shipment. Kodos are resilient creatures. With some food, the big guy may come around. Alright, let's get some grain for this guy. Except that's not grain for some reason. So this is a good time as any to talk about Barrens chat. There's not really any one reason why Barrens chat became terrible. So this was one of the major questing hubs for the Horde low level. Pretty much everyone went through here. Trolls, Orcs, and Taurens all came through here. The end, right? That's just how that works. So a lot of players congregated through here, and a fairly large number of those players didn't actually know what they were doing, because they were noobs. So the chat was filled with a lot of people who are like, hey, what do I do? How do I do this? Etc. Well, because there were so many of them, as I've said before, you know, if you have a bigger pie, the slice may be the same percent of the pie, but it's a larger amount than it would be if the pie was smaller. In other words, because the sample size was actually larger when it comes to how many people were in the Barrens back in vanilla, there were more terrible people and bored people and troll people, and this place just... So the chat very, very quickly devolved into total nonsense. Like, complete and utter nonsense. And that is basically what Barrens chat was. It was gibberish. At best. I'll go ahead and wait for the respawn. Oh, hello. I'll take the grain, too. Nom, nom, nom. Tasty grain. Nom, 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 nom. I would say it is, obviously, since I'm doing the lore run on Warcraft, World of Warcraft. There is quite a bit of lore to World of Warcraft. I've been trying to cover it as I go through here. And of course, that's also where the Mancrick's wife thing becomes, because finding her, well, let's just say that the quest directions were not. There were actually no actual quest directions. Hey, Noralex. So you were just left with a general vague area of the entire Barrens to search, to look for her. And, so most people had no idea how to find her. Ergo, people would constantly be asking, and I do mean constantly asking, in chat, hey, how do I find Mancrick's wife? Funny fact, most people also didn't know that it's Mancrick. K-R-I-K. So most people would say Mankirk, and I am guilty of that as well. I did that same problem. I have played EverQuest 2. I've played EverQuest 2 quite a bit. There is a decent amount of small-scale lore and flavor lore in the earlier levels, and then it goes flying out the window pretty much the moment you hit about 25 to 30, somewhere around there. So, as far as interesting concepts, I can't say that I found anything in EverQuest 2 really engaging. It was an interesting experiment, especially since EverQuest was still going at the time. But they were not the only MMO to attempt that. And not the only MMO to fail at that, for that matter. I had fun with EverQuest early levels, but I would never play it long term. Damn it, die. I'd just like to go ahead and say hashtag other players really quick here, because that's the problem I'm having. Nightbot does appear to be on. Whatever. Yes, this was before Wowhead, and Thoughtbot was not perfect, and not everyone knew that Thoughtbot existed. Plenty of people in Barren chats were more than willing to tell you that Thoughtbot existed, though. Usually in a very derogatory manner. Any other MMOs with a strong RP community? EVE Online. It's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. Lotro had a strong role-playing community, but from my understanding it kind of died out there. Now, a strong lore aspect to an MMO. There are several MMOs that have a decent lore aspect that are not the one I'm playing right now. Also, I'd just like to pause for a moment. So, Barrens quests sucked. Now, I'm using past tense, but they still kind of suck, because for the most part, they didn't completely revamp them. The new quests that are new are generally awesome. And then there's the rest of them. Slow respawn rate. So this is a good example. These sacks of grain I need spawn in 3 specific spots, along with the enemies I need to kill. So there's only like 2 respawn nodes per spot, and I have to run back and forth across a fairly large area in order to see which one is which. Keep in mind, at this point in time, I shouldn't actually have a mount. This is designed for someone who doesn't have a mount. This is padding 101 right here, and I will not defend it. Admittedly, I also have very bad memories of old Barrens. I used to use Zebra Hooves as my prime example of bad quest design in Vanilla WoW. I'll go ahead and tell you that story in a minute, because we actually will be getting Zebra Hooves in the future, and we'll see how bad it is in Kata. My main problem right now is other players, as usual, but it would not help if these respawn rates were a little bit higher. There we go. So, now that we have finally gotten our 5... It's only 5 things we needed, too. I'm telling you, Deutsch. I can actually perceive... yeah, no kidding, Gnarlex. I can actually perceive how it would work. Like, literally what it would be like to play WoW with the Heroes and Henchmen system in instanced zones, just like in Guild Wars 1, and God, I wish that was a real thing. It'd be perfect for the Lorerun, too, obviously, since I would literally be free from all external influence being detrimental to my enjoyment of the game, and, most importantly of all, from interrupting and slowing down the Lorerun. This is the whole problem I was having in Tor. Not as bad, of course. I've had tons of things to talk about. I hope you guys can agree. I've had a lot more to talk about and a lot more to share as I've been going through, WoW than I did in Tor. But, yeah. But yeah, if anybody's wondering why Blood Elves and Forsaken were by far the most common played races, this is a big reason why. And that's not even a joke. People did not want to quest in the Barrens. Right, let's go save the Kodo first, shall we? So, I know I've asked the would you live there question many times, and a lot of people have given answers, but I have to admit, I kind of wouldn't mind living in the Barrens if it was under certain circumstances. For example, if Gnarlex was actually successful in his goal. But no, but more seriously though, this is a nice area. I like the idea of living here. The only real problems are the Alliance and the Quillbore issue. Alright, we give him the... the Kodo is voracious. You might as well be pouring those sacks of grain into a hole. Already, the animal's beginning to perk up. Om nom nom nom. The great beast rises slowly to its feet, the loose barren soil spilling from its revitalized limbs. Instinctively, it trudges back home towards Gromgol Farm. Go, my minion. Go. I have to admit, I really wanted a Kodo mount in early WoW history. And then I didn't. And I know what you're thinking. Arsh, you're dumb. Well, of course I am. But what I mean by that is here, I can actually demonstrate. So Kodo mounts in this game look like this. And this is the best Kodo mount, of course, but they're tiny. They're like little baby Kodos. I wanted a Kodo mount. Bam, bam. I wanted to be this massive stampeding Kodo of awesome going across the terrain. Not this dinky little thing. So I was really disappointed when I got my first Kodo mount.
Mogra!
Ah, Sator Tusk behaved as expected. Went right for your throat. It's good that he's dead. The Razormaw and Quillbore have been separated from their leadership in the southern Barrens. No doubt allowing an animal like him to come to power. Maybe without his influence we could start a dialogue with the survivors. Hey! Actually coordinating and interacting with them rather than killing them. Thumbs up.
Be safe.
Loktar.
So, that was your handiwork, Pandaren. Yes, the missing Kodo arrived just minutes ago. It'll take many nights to nurse the poor beast's wounds, but thanks to you, it's alive. And you saved the whole shipment. Please, take your pick of the gear the Kodo was carrying.
Go forth to victory.
Now, I'll tell you the actual, big mount. This is my favorite big mount. Because it's actually kind of big. Bam, 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 bam. Bam, 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 bam. If I could add one feature to the game that would benefit role-playing? Let me think about that. Yes, I do, Nicholas. As I say, sub-races does sound like something that would really benefit role-playing in general. Give the players more option as to what they're playing, you know? And to showcase that. I'm also going to say something that's going to be kind of controversial, and I've already tossed this idea out there more than once. Remove the restriction on classes and races. Let every race make every class, and either side. So, again, more role-playing opportunities there.
Strength and honor!
I see you've left a string of corpses in your wake, Pandaren. I couldn't have done it better myself.
May your blades never dull.
That was actually going to be my next answer, Nicolas. Bringing the ability to communicate with the other side back into it. So, do I think Sylvanas will succeed in her spoilery task? I'm going to go ahead and say no, because I feel like that's the direction her character arc is going in. Yeah, exactly, Doctor. I mean, seriously. Is that it? Okay, that's it. If I had to remove Kalimdor or the Eastern Kingdoms... That's a tough question. Because I like both. Pretty much equally, actually. On Kalimdor, especially nowadays, we have the entire Ashenvale, Stone Talon Mountains, Southern Barrens chain, which is basically one cohesive story of awesome. It also has Hyjal, and I love Hyjal. It has Ashara, which is some great stuff there. It's got Tanarus, which is pretty cool nowadays. And Uldum, which I actually like Uldum quite a bit. It's got the new Desolus, and I like the new Desolus. Eastern Kingdoms has the East and West Plaguelands, some of my favorite old zones. The new Tearsafal Glades, which is awesome. The new Silver Pine, which is amazing. The new Hillsbrad, which is incredible. Twilight Highlands, Vashir, one of my favorite zones in the entire game. Like my second favorite zone in the entire game. Westfall and Lakeshire, both of which are really, really different in Kata and really awesome. And of course, the Badlands, which is also fantastic in Kata. But you're pointing a gun at my head and you're saying I have to destroy one of them. Eastern Kingdoms. The reason why? It offers the most story potential. Like, say it happens in lore, right? So the Eastern Kingdom is sunk. So all those wonderful, incredible things are gone. And so what we have now is the Alliance, which up until this point has just been growing and growing and growing in military strength at the expense of their infrastructure, now has lost both. And now we have a situation that's kind of a repeat of what happened in Warcraft 3. AKA, so back in Warcraft 3, the Eastern Kingdoms was basically abandoned. And so we had to flee the Eastern Kingdoms all the way over to Kalimdor. Remember, this is the whole thing in Warcraft 3. All the Kulturas and the Theramore, what would eventually become the Theramore people, the survivors of Lorerun, pretty much the entirety of the Horde, you know, all of that had to go west. So imagine if all that had to happen again. Imagine what that would do to the dynamic of the story. All the humans, all the gnomes, all the dwarves, all the blood elves, all the Forsaken, all suddenly living on Kalimdor. That would either turn everything into a berserk free-for-all for survival, or the various races would realize that stuff has just gotten real, and it's time to start actually working together instead of against each other, and we could actually see a real revitalization of Kalimdor, and have a whole new Kalimdor zone as a result of that. So there's my reasoning. It is worth noting, by the way, that same thing would work in reverse, too. So it doesn't necessarily have to be Kalimdor. But that's my reasoning.
Magraw.
He hands me a familiar-looking shotgun. I took the liberty of cleaning up Helga's artillery for you. I'm sure I don't need you to warn you about the kickback. Just ask me when you're ready to mount up for the crossroads. Thork is waiting up there. Be sure not to give him any lip. Don't stop for nothing. If someone gets too close, just give him a thump with the butt end of your gun.
For the Horde.
So where's...
What do you need?
I'm ready.
May your blades never dull.
Oh, here we go. Just like the good old days, Kovak. Let's do it. See, this is what I want my Kodo mount to look like. This is like twice the size of the other ones. Anyways. What would I choose as a gnome if I could pick any class for a gnome? And I assume I have to pick a class that exists. Hey, it's Burning Blade! Remember these guys back from Duratar? Remember, these guys are actually working for the Twilight's Hammer. Just a reminder there. Least favorite Draenor zone? You mean Warlord's zone, basically? Or are you including Outland into that? I like the special music that plays during this, by the way. It's a nice touch. So a class that exists. Damn. Okay. Well, I'm not going to go with the joke answer. Probably Nagrand. Jujus. I'm not counting Tanan, obviously. Honestly, I think I'd just go with the typical. What my actual gnome was once upon a time. I would go with a gnome mage. It just suits the gnome so well. I know they're allowed right now, but... Actually, it's funny you say that, Permeus. Other MMOs have had a similar feature like that in the past. So I'm not actually sure why, you know, why WoW has never allowed that to be a thing. That's an old concept. That concept exists before WoW ever came out. Toasters, it's... Well, let's say you're fighting a boss and 3 of you die, but 2 of you survive fighting the boss, so now you can get them up. Or if you come across someone else who's been fighting and they died in the process, and now you can get them up. You know, that kind of a thing. Nowadays, mass res kind of fits the bill, but don't forget mass res also has a cooldown involved. So you can only res once per, what is it, 5 minutes or something like that with mass res.
What do you need?
Was it you I saw waving a gun around from the back of my last caravan? It's about time we got some supplies through here. It's bad enough to be separated from Mulgore, but this city would fall apart if we lost our trade with Orgrimmar. Yup.
Dabu.
This place is... basically the point... Oh, goody, there's an Alliance guy who's killing... Well, he's going up the flight path. That's not as bad.
What now?
I'm going to pick up quests quickly, just in case they're going to die soon. I'll read them as we go.
I've been expecting you.
Because this is the Crossroads. This is the second most popular place. It used to be the second most popular place.
Strength.
To
Go forth to victory.
to kill the other side on, basically.
Farewell.
I have no idea, actually, Jenkins. I've never used the teleport devices. So here's the quest we just got. You have to hit a high rank of the arena, Kovac. If you want to really demonstrate your bravery to me, let me send you after something that really bites. The Savannah Huntresses of the Barrens are as sly and quick and deadly. They've been hassling our scouts recently around the outskirts of town, especially to the northeast. Be wary as you hunt them, or you may find yourself not predator, but prey. I'll go to that one in a second. Monk, the Barrens used to be one of the most beautiful places in Kalimdor. It teemed with life and promise. You have to do ship missions to get those, Kovac. As you can see, that is no longer true. It is a land of great torment and strife. The disciples of Naralak seek to cleanse the Wailing Caverns and bring back their former beauty. Speak with him inside the Wailing Caverns and help. Have you felt the tremors, Monk? Something cleaved the land in two, but we druids sense other tremors as well. Life is stirring in lands once dry and lifeless. The oasis around the crossroads are suddenly blooming. I sense a power leaked its way to the surface, but from where? Is it related to the disaster that shattered the Barrens? We must find the source. Travel to the Forgotten Pool, search its waters for a source of power, and return to me there. The oasis of the Barrens hides a mystery. Life energy flows from the waters, invigorating the plants and beasts that drink it. Invigorating and altering. There's a mushroom that glows near the forgotten pools to the northwest. Its spores hold properties that we apothecaries of Lorerun find useful. Bring me the spores and you will earn our gratitude. Oh. Ugh. Ow. So, we're fighting zebras for zebra hooves. I've been keeping track. We've killed 6 so far. 7. We've killed 7 zebras to get their hooves. We need 4 hooves. Ah, there we go. So 8 zebras to get 4 hooves. I'll let you think about the math on that for just a moment. Hello, Azura. Now, you're probably thinking, oh my god, Arsh, that's terrible. And while that's not exactly great, that's nothing compared to how it used to be. Not all the apothecaries were working for Putris and Varamothra, Starker. Although there's some obvious trust issues there. Whoa there. They did actually fix the drop rate. That's kind of the funny thing. They did actually fix it. It used to be much worse. Oh, you have no idea. There's a reason I used to call that type of quest Zebra Hooves or Troll Ears is the other big one. I told you guys about that. Nowadays it's Ogre Key. But no, seriously, the old drop rate was terrible. It was actually something along the lines of a 10% drop rate per kill of zebras. Four-hooved creatures for 4 hooves. Yeah. What the? Why are there Korkron here? Huh? This event isn't even live anymore. Why are the Korkron here? So this is something that'll happen in Pandaria, with the Korkron basically massacring the Barrens for resources. Whatever. I don't know, Gnarlex. No, I guess they just didn't remove the NPCs. Shrug, I suppose. Wow, this used to be much less lush of a terrain. Look at this. Oh, this is probably a great thing that all this... See, this is actually a little closer to what the Barrens should actually look like, by the way.
Greetings.
The centaurs have plagued the Tauren for years, and recently the Kolkar centaurs of the Barrens have grown into a real threat. Normally they were disorganized, but new leaders have risen amongst them, rallying them. To preserve our holdings here, the centaur must be destroyed.
Be careful.
We must join them in. We must force them into joining the mongrel horde. Ah, yes, deviate delight. Bad memories.
Greetings, man.
I was sent here to scout out the centaur activity. I've been tracking their every movement for days. Time for me to sneak out, but they've got this oasis surrounded. You look like a dangerous one. Can you make a lot of noise for me? Stir 'em up. Start killing indiscriminately. And when they aren't looking for you, I slip out to get my info to Regthar Deathgate.
Be seeing ya.
So, these were one of the only places you could fish up something called, actually, I don't remember the name of the fish, but it's the deviate fish. And, well, you might wonder why it's a bad thing that all of this, life is sprouting and growing within these areas. Well, we'll get there. But it is a bad thing. And potentially a good thing. What do you mean, Backsiege? Explain yourself, or be destroyed. Also, I didn't choose these. You guys did. I didn't choose species or class. No. Deathwing popped out here. He literally popped out of the Maelstrom. From Deepholm. Is there anything down here? That's right, we can roll underwater. Because we're a monk, and we're awesome. Aha! There's some air bubbles coming up from there. Strange. Yeah, I had multiple streams about that. I gotta be honest, if I was in charge of any nation in Warcraft, first thing I would do is make it my life's goal to make my nation on very, very good terms with the Cenarian Circle and the Earthen Ring. The second thing I would do is turn to both of them and say, "Could you help us terraform? Please." So there were rumors and whispers for a while about playable centaurs. But literally the only point of evidence in that favor at all is the fact that there are female centaurs. Now, if you don't understand why that's significant, try to keep in mind, despite the fact the ogres are confirmed for a race that should have been playable, there are no female ogres. Ever. In any comic or in any game. I hear that comment a lot, Tetris Man, so I'll simply say I'm glad you're enjoying. I don't think Shaman... I know, like, nobody voted for Priest, but I think Shaman was, like, our 6th or 7th up. I'm not sure which exactly.
What you want?
Oh, that was beautiful. I probably shouldn't have stayed to watch. Now that they're looking for you, I slip quietly away in the dust of their aimless galloping. Be sure to look for any other buds at the pools. Boss has agents at all of them.
Stay away from them.
Actually, it's funny you say that, Dr. Z. At this point, the lack of female ogres has gotten a little bit silly. So, either there really is no such thing as an ogre female, or they just have never been shown up. Now, it is worth noting that there is such a thing, kind of, as an ogre female. Hang on a second. If you give me a moment, I will show you exactly what I mean. So as you can see, this is what's known as an ogre female mask. There are actually two types of ogre masks. There's an ogre male mask and an ogre female mask. That's actually quite recent. It actually came up before Warlords and was another, it's like evidence piece number 577 that we were going to get ogres as a playable race in Warlords, and then for some reason we didn't. God dang it. So, yeah. So there you go. We're pretty sure ogre females exist, at least in mask format. Not sure about, Oh, that was him. Whoops. We're not sure about anyone else, really. Okay. It is also probably worthy of note that supposedly there is such a thing as an incubus in WoW. I say supposedly because it's only mentioned in the RPG books, which are definitively not canon. So we're not sure if the Siad actually extends to both male and female, and frankly, I don't think it matters that much. Hello, Iron Man. Do you have Codobane's head for me? Well done. Codobane is just one strand of a tangled thread. There are other Kolkar leaders to kill elsewhere in the Barrens. Seek out my companions at the other oases if you wish to press the assault.
Go in peace.
Ogres are related to Grons, that is correct. Ogres are 2 species down from Grons. Ogrins came from Gron, and Ogres came from Ogrins. And Gron came from Magnaron, and Magnaron came from whatever they're called. Because they don't have an official name. It's like the big giant guys. This is still the best mount ever. Just saying. This was worth spending weeks and weeks and weeks to get. Kong, Kong, Kong. I like its grabbers, too. If you can't quite tell. Hang on, let me get a better shot of it. There we go. It's got, like, it's really hard to say. It's got grabber arms. Grabber claws going on. I can't get a good angle. There we go. You can see him a little bit better there. Oh, yeah, it's also got the propellers. Anyways. I imagine if ogres ever come out as a playable, ogre females will just suddenly start existing, basically. Well, I will never get that, Dracula, so I'm not too worried about it. Now, if this was a co-RPG, I could go get that, but it is not. Absolutely Tetris, man. I do it in a heartbeat. Bam! What's this new game? Oh my god, and then I dive into it. I actually wish I could do that on a semi-regular basis with some things. Do you know what I'd give to be able to play... What the hell? Do you know what I'd give to be able to play Final Fantasy VI again without knowing anything about it?
Speak quickly.
Do you have my spores, Iron Man? My associates and I are eager to study this phenomenon. Ah, yes, good specimens, potent. I am forsaken, and we honor our contracts. Here is your reward. I've cultured these unusual spores you dug up with the most magnificent cocktail of reagents that I am fond of. I'm eager to see how my manipulated spores react to the water of the crossroad oases. The stagnant oasis to the southeast should provide an uncontaminated site for our experiment. Simply plant this culture in the moist soil anywhere near the oasis and document the results for me. Be sure to cover your mouth, monk. He grins disarmingly.
Trust no one.
Probably the Draculas. And at that point, I might be able to get it at some point. Just like I will eventually, theoretically, be able to get Mimiron's head, even though I've never seen it frickin' drop. That could be, Ventures. That could be.
Peace, friend.
You found a fissure in the earth with power emanating from it. Strange. Something is causing that oasis to bubble over suddenly with life. Come, monk, there's something else I'd like you to investigate with me. An explosion of life from barren soil. My companion Jarek has described similar events happening elsewhere in the Barrens. I shall have to see this myself, but I cannot abandon my post. Here, I will loan you my eyes. My eagle companion has served me since I was named. Please accompany him to Thunderhead Summit, where Jarek awaits, and we will investigate.
Walk with the earth, mother.
I'll talk about Tauren names in a second. Why is this blood elf just wandering around like that? Oh, whatever.
Loktar!
The Zevra. Not bad. These Zevra hold a lot of strength in their legs. I've seen them knock a Tauren on its haunches. Looks like you have some strength in you, too.
Go with honor.
How goes the hunt? I see you've been busy. I hope you've learned a lot from this prey, Iron Man. You'll need the strength and cunning of beasts like these to serve my beloved horde.
Strength.
White Mist, or Achayaki in the Tauren tongue, is king of the Savannah cats. He hunts with such stealth, they say he's like a thin white mist on the earth. He kills so fast his prey have no time for fear or pain. The Tauren say he is both mercy and death. Iron Man, I now set you on the path to hunt Achayaki. His lair is just northwest of here on the north side of a small mountain range. Go, blow this horn when you get there, and he will
Go
come.
forth to victory.
Well, okay. I suppose I could do that. Tauren actually have two names. They have a public name, which they use commonly, and then they have a more deep interpersonal name, which they earn later on in their lives. They don't actually... And they don't get to choose their earned name, usually. It's usually chosen for them by their parents. I say usually, that's the common thing. So, For example, any given Tauren who is born, they'll say, "Here's Bob, the Tauren." It's a long line of Bobs from the Tauren people. Anyways, so they will. No, I did not break one. I haven't left yet. But Bob, his true name, his real name is actually George. And so Bob will be called Bob right up until he actually finishes his rite of passage and proves himself to be a brave, which we actually already did ourselves as our Tauren. And once accomplishing that fact, they will then henceforth be called George from that point on. Usually there's some kind of reference to their old name, like it would be George Bob or Bob George or something along those lines. So that there is some obvious parallel to their original selves. I do find that concept fascinating, because it's not an uncommon concept, but the fact that the parents pick both names is interesting to me. It's also a unique way to show the whole... Well, I shouldn't say unique. It's an interesting way to show the whole having a come-of-age situation. What are these? Oh my god, Burning Blade! Death to the Burning Blade. Because I have nothing to do for 17 seconds. Oh god, it's so uncomfortable sitting like that. Ah. Discomfort or pain, pick one. Okay. I'm probably in completely the wrong area. What do you want to bet? Yep, wrong area. This is Dread Mist Peak. I need the other peak. Could be Deutsch. That's speculation, but again, could be. I don't actually know. Ah, okay. Don't know, Azura. Seriously, I don't know. It's a new pain. Don't worry, if it drives me to suicide, you'll be the first to know. Admittedly psychotic, you'd think that's a thing that would have happened by now. Like, seriously. We have the ability to do that. I mean, we made a bridge between the Blade's Edge Mountains and the Netherstorm. And the Netherstorm was quite literally floating off into the Twisting Nether, so... You'd think we could make a bridge over a giant chasm of magma. Maybe we have... I don't know. Maybe we did in Lorerun. We just haven't seen the results of that yet. Because the whole split between the two zones is a really important point, story-wise. So I could kind of see why they wouldn't want it to just suddenly have a bridge there. But then again, that's what phasing is for. I mean, we could just have a phase where we go back and, hey, there's a bridge there. To give an example of what I mean, hey, look, Theramore's here. But as soon as we do the scenario, Theramore won't be there. We'll be basically permanently flagged to see how things are now. So they could just have like a scenario where, you know, we fight and defend and we've done it and now we have our bridge back. And then as a result of that, you know, from now on you see the new version of the Barrens. Yeah, it makes trying to get there without flying a huge hassle. Basically, to get to the Southern Barrens, to my knowledge, I don't know if there's any physical way to pass through here. You have to actually go, you have to literally go through the Stone Talon Mountains into, wait, no, I'm sorry, no, you have to go through the beach, and you have to go by the ocean, and then swim across like that, sorry. Because I tried this route, this doesn't actually work, because you actually can't get from Mulgar to the Southern Barrens, normally.
What can I do for you?
Except unless you know how to jump over the wall, which I think you can do. I'm not actually sure about that. Ah, you've beaten a Cherokee. And though his days of hunting are forever over, his spirit is within you. He will show you the strength found in subtlety and the honor in mercy. I underestimated you, monk. The Horde is fortunate to have you in its ranks. The hunt deepens, Ironman. Now you must find and defeat your prey within its lair. Hunt the Sunscale Raptors to the south, where they have built a warren amongst the hills just off the road. Slay them and remove the feathers they wear. Place the feathers on the Sunscale raptor nests to show your brethren you do not fear them. Be cautious. Raptors hunt in packs.
Farewell.
And are clever girls. Stop. Alright, let's head to the Stagnant Oasis, shall we? Which is right there. I can see it from here. We should be getting close enough to actually show you what I've been referring to this whole time, for those of you who have not played this game and are not aware of what I'm referring to. This is usually one of the main zones that pointed out when people talk about changes to the old world in Cataclysm. I do have to admit, it's kind of worth noting that the Horde... Well, okay, so the Disgusting Horde wouldn't be interested in building a bridge. Obvious, right? The Horde only recently retook power, only as of about a year ago. Now, a year is still enough time to build a bridge, but they've been kind of busy with warlords, so... maybe not? I don't know. It has really been one thing after another. For everyone, not just the Horde. And, well, with Legion coming, it's gonna keep being that way. For lack of a better way to put that. He killed me as he died. So these are the Raptors. As we've discussed, the Raptors are actually quite intelligent already. Ignoring the fact that we literally found a Raptor that, you know, made a functional spaceship. Just ignore that for a moment. Raptors in general are intelligent. These little huts are things they built. And they actually fashioned their own armor, those bracelets they wear and the feathers they wear. That's stuff they make. So while the Raptors may not be communicative like, say, some other races. Yeah, I know, right, Nether? They are still, I would argue, are still at least qualify as potentially sentient and sapient, based on their level of advancement. The Doge meme? I guess? I don't know. It's a thing. It's a meme. Ooh, come on back. I don't need this today. I was gonna say, speaking of places that probably should have been at least started rebuilding by now, the park. So for those of you not aware, Stormwind used to have this wonderful, luscious, awesome park. And that park ain't there no more. Deathwing kind of wiped it out. The funny thing is, though, while the damage done to it is actually really understandable, I mean, it's not just a small amount of damage. That park was wiped from the face of the earth. You'd think they would have done something with it since then. You know, maybe filled it in, or added some kind of, you know, growth to try and regrow it. You know, a new tree that... You know, here's an idea. So, you know how it's like this massive chasm, and then there's the baseline where the actual water is? Why not have a massive tree coming up from that? And there's like branches, and the branches have NPCs on them, and you can walk around and actually interact with them, you know, that kind of a thing. Wouldn't that be cool? And it would be a lot more feasible than, say, actually filling in the massive chunk of death there, especially since, as we've discussed, and we'll see when we get to the Eastern Kingdoms, the Alliance is suffering some rather severe internal infrastructure problems right now. They are broke. Super, super, super broke. And so, the ability for them to actually afford doing something like that is, low likelihood, I would say. I mean, really, really low likelihood. Westfall. Oh, excuse me.
Loktar,
Sneak, sneak, sneak. Let me tell you something about Gorgol. Gorgol doesn't sneak. We were sent here to track the movements of the Kolkar Centaur, but after a week of watching these dirty animals scamper all around the oasis, I'm itching to give my axe a taste of their necks. What do you say, Monk? Want to cause a little havoc with me?
Be safe.
Yes, that's what I want to hear. Let's make some noise. Orgrimmar didn't really get damaged, though. Not the same way Stormwind did. Not that I'm arguing Stormwind shouldn't get repaired. I'm just saying. Stormwind had a freaking gargantuan chasm of death that was carved into it. Orgrimmar had a little bit of building damage and lost their front gate. Pretty big difference. Serpent... You're talking about Wailing Caverns, aren't you, Psychotic? Right? Yes, no? Bam. By the way, I hate you guys. So for those of you not aware, before I started the Lorerun, I was very, very disinclined to read anything. I was in a no-men policy about Legion. Well, over the course of the Lorerun, by logical happenstance, that has stopped being. And I have researched a lot of stuff about Legion, you know, for the information about the Lorerun. Unfortunately, I am now super hyped for Legion because I now know all sorts of awesome stuff about it. So you guys suck.
How you doing, man?
Please, Monk, don't encourage Gorgol. We're supposed to observe and report, not raise up a ruckus. Oh, man, why you have to be going and get Gargo off like that? Still, I can't argue with the results. We need to watch these animals closely to see what they do with Kuruk out of the way. More watching and waiting. Gorgol won't like that.
Be seeing ya.
Rethgar Deathgate sent me here to observe the centaur activity. The leaders of this group are hard to pin down. I've discovered his name, Verog the Dervish, but his whereabouts are a mystery. Can you help us do some digging? That centaur intelligence sounds like an oxymoron, but their camps are often littered with important communications.
Stay away from the voodoo.
By the way, in case you're wondering, we will specifically be digging into the centaur race when we get to Desolus. I feel that is a much better place to discuss the centaur as a culture and as a people and talk about their origins and all that fun stuff. And you're welcome, Crumb Cruncher. I'm really glad you've been liking it. I have heard that message many times in the last few weeks, and it makes me smile. So, yay! Just whisper it to me, Norlix. Whisper it to me, or be destroyed. I have played MTG extensively. I used to be up on the lore. I was really interested in the Phyrexian arc and the Mirrodin block. Yes, Origin. I'm going through all of Kalimdor, and then I'm going through all of the Eastern Kingdoms, and then I'm going through all of Pandaria, and then I'm going through all of Warlords, and then I'm going through all of Legion, maybe, if it takes us that long. We'll see. Anyways. But yes, I have paid attention to the lore of MTG. It's actually something that I have mentioned several times. I had the question the other day, well, why does Hearthstone need lore? To which my answer was, well, it doesn't need lore. It's a perfectly acceptable game in its own right. But it could have lore. I mean, Magic the Gathering has lore. There are whole books coming out from, or that have come out for MTG. No, I don't, Nether. Unless we get some super surprise, hey, by the way, it's not coming out in September, it's coming out way sooner, kind of announcement. But I doubt that. Based on what I've seen in the beta so far, they are not ready for launch, nor will they be. In all honesty, September is probably the most likely release date for Legion, which sucks. Not intentionally, no, Origin. Oh, I do plan to stream Legion, absolutely. It's been widely requested, and I want to do it anyways, so... Interesting, Narlex. That actually doesn't make sense to me, but I'll have to think about that. Seriously, though, September is what I am predicting. We'll see, though. I've been keeping my finger on the pulse of the beta quite a bit. And I know 3 people who are in the beta, and I know 1 person who works at Blizzard. And you're right, I shouldn't call it the beta. It's actually an alpha right now, but you get what I mean. If only Overwatch actually had a proper campaign mode or something. Or story. That is true, Draculus. That's one of the reasons I keep forgetting to call it Alpha. But my own mistake on that. Ooh. Die. So, genuine question for you guys while I'm running around here. How many of you would actually want me to read the Warcraft Chronicles book live on stream when it finally gets here? I've already ordered it, of course. I shouldn't have to explain that. But is that something you guys are interested in or not interested in? Honest feedback preferred, please and thank you. Interesting. Yeah, I'd just be reading the book. It would be my first time reading it, too. I would go out of my way not to read it until I stream it, just to have my own live reactions be genuine with you guys. Yes, all of my content goes live to my YouTube. It goes live staggered, which means it's not on my YouTube yet, but it will be eventually. Well, I've done other books on stream before, Dr. Z, so I'm not too worried about that. Okay, so this is stagnant. Yeah, like I said, I'm not worried about it. I just have to set my settings properly.
Don't be shy.
Good work, Iron Man. Did you look through these? They're barely legible. More like angry graffiti than war plans. Hatred, jealousy, rage, personal conflict. It's a wonder Verog can keep these centaur from killing each other, much less form them into an army. We could use this to our advantage. Verog might be hard to find, but by judging by the info you gathered, his mate Wyneth is always in his command tent. If we kill her, Verog will come running. Rethgar sent us here to scout, but he also said we could seize any opportunity to upset the centaur chain of command if we can. Lure out Verog and kill him.
Bye-bye now.
Death to the centaur. So, like I said, this is actually not the centaur at their strongest. But the centaur do have a strong presence here. They used to actually completely control the Barrens, and had basically pushed the Taurens to the brink of extinction here, as I mentioned back during the Tauren intro zone. Fortunately, we came along. Hey, I killed your wife. Prepare to die. Yeah, I don't know what the heck is up with Nightbot. It says it's up. Let me go ahead and try this. Nightbot in general just must be down. Even though I'm staring at it right now. It's okay, Deutsch. I killed him too. Made it all nice and even.
Talk to me.
Did you find Verog? Oh, you did it. That really upset the balance of power down here. Verog left no clear successor, so I suspect this crew of brutes will fall on each other like hungry dogs. I'll stay here and keep an eye on what happens next. Vera gets it directly to the Kolkar chief. Him's a good start. There's more work need be done.
You be careful, man.
I am probably going to watch BVS, even though I'm only mildly interested in it. We'll see if it's any good or not. Shrug. Now, Civil War, I'm going to watch the unholy hell out of. 50 times, probably. But, yeah. So why don't I go ahead and show you the Rift. Or the Chasm, if you prefer. Dun, dun, dun. Damn it. So this is the Rift. The Chasm. The Great Divide. As you can see, this presents a monumental problem for everything. For troop movements, for trade, for moving of cargo, etc. I still agree it is possible we might be able to actually have a bridge of built by now. But, you can kind of understand why this was such an issue at the time. And yes, that's lava down there. Or magma, I forget which. So, yeah. Anyways. Which WoW novel would I recommend the most? There's one that's all about Arthas, which is pretty damn good. Storm Rage is good. I'm not sure past that. Actually, Darker, it's not that simple in this case, because remember, this entire crack in the earth is a wound in the elements, not just the actual physical terrain. So, the elements would be less inclined to work in this area, and as such, a shaman's power would be, for lack of a better term, nerfed while working around here. So, yeah. I'm not saying it's impossible, I'm just saying it would not be that easy. No, come back! Come back, bird! No, you're too fast for me, come back! Come back! Well, again, the other problem is it's only been about a year since a power interested in fixing that has existed. Remember, Garrosh didn't give a damn about that. And the other thing to keep in mind, I know this is a minor point, but this terrain here is not stable terrain to build a bridge off of. So the bridge would actually have to probably do its balancing points on both sides, like over here and way over here. So way bigger of a bridge design than otherwise. We're lucky the Barrens isn't crumbling into the sea. Actually, that nearly did happen. Very nearly. I'm not saying it's impossible for a bridge to have been a thing by now. In fact, there really probably should be a bridge by the end of Warlords, I'd say. But, it's understandable why it hasn't been a high priority lately. So yeah, as you can see, by the way, you notice the massive unchecked flora over there? It's the whole area is growing just like the oases are over here. How strange. We must do everything in our power to stop the same from happening here. We'll have to step up investigation of the oasis and stop this phenomenon at once. So, okay. For those of you who know, there's another reason why this unchecked growth is a bad thing. But can anyone else who knows nothing about the Barrens tell me why that kind of unchecked growth is a bad thing? We'll call this quiz time here. Quiz time with Arsh. Maybe. Something? No? Quiz time with Bob.
The winds guide you.
Tonga knows better these lands better than any of us, and I believe it physically hurt him to see them torn asunder. I am glad Tonga was able to witness the overgrowth firsthand. Words can't convey the scope of the damage. Did you bring his totem? I'll return it to him when I finish here. Bingo, Deutsch. Yeah, totally destroying... I'm talking ecologically speaking. That kind of completely unchecked, rampant growth is going to totally dominate and destroy the ecosystem, which will be ultimately self-destructed and leave to the entire area being even worse than the Barrens already are. And that's a bad thing. Also, we don't know how far it would stretch before it was stopped. By the way, there's one last reason why a bridge has not been built yet, and it's called the Alliance. And for those of you who don't know, the Alliance actually has a very strong military presence in the Southern Barrens. And so throughout the entirety of Cataclysm and Pandaria, when the two sides were at war, the Alliance wasn't really in a position to allow the Horde to build a bridge there, if you follow me. So again, only within the last year or so has that been feasible to build a bridge at all. What's happening to the south? Or can what's happening to the south happen here? Judging by what you found at the Forgotten Pools, these oases might be the key. Let's perform an experiment. Here, take these seeds I've collected from the summit here. They are dead, infertile. But carry them down to the stagnant oasis just below us. If there's a fissure there, place the seeds within it and observe. Report your findings back to Tonga at the crossroads.
Ancestors watch over you.
It will be important to study both plant and animal life impacted by the oases, and the unusual energies you have discovered.
May the eternal sun shine.
Recently, their population has exploded, the snapjaw turtles. Moreover, the once peaceful animals are growing aggressive. I learned the hard way before trekking up here. I suspect they've been altered by the oases. I tend to be a horde person at heart, Dutch. But ultimately, I try not to think of myself as either. Because I think both are stupid and we really shouldn't be fighting each other, yada yada yada. No, Bregwin, this is not the Earth plane peeking through. This is the Emerald Dream peeking through. And by the Emerald Dream, if you know anything about it, you know that I mean the Emerald Nightmare. Yeah, which stupid would I rather deal with? Oh, you mean that, okay. Too many D-named people. D-names are now forbidden. From now on. I'm kidding. Really? Really? Ah. I've gotten like 3 recipes of of wild growth since I've been out here. For the elixir of growth or whatever. That's right. The D-names are no longer a part of my horde. There we go. Oh, it's a motorcycle. Okay, I'm safe. I'm safe, guys. No more motorcycle. Whew. Instead, we're on something that's literally about the size of we. I mean, look at how tiny this thing is compared to our Pandaren. Pandarens are actually quite large. Some people don't really get that across looking at it. But they're about the size... They're actually a little bit bigger than Taurens overall. Well, see, Lilu, that's absolutely true, if not for the Emerald Nightmares. Well, okay, that's theoretically true, if not for the Emerald Nightmares' influence. Durotar must be renamed Hellscape. If anybody asks, I'll say we renamed it after Garrosh. After about, I don't know, 2 months, everyone will leave Durotar and live somewhere that's actually arable. You know, Dutch, I've been thinking the Alliance and the Horde should be unified since vanilla. It's not a joke, by the way. One of the first things I learned about WoW was the Alliance and the Horde were at war again. And I was really pissed off about that. You might be like, well, why is that? Well, because I played Warcraft 3. And I played Frozen Throne. And in both, one thing that was made abundantly clear was that the war was over. And the two sides had finally unified. I will later, Lilu, because I don't want to talk too much about it. But suffice it to say, this is not natural growth. This is the Emerald Nightmare influencing the material plane. Anyway, so, you know, I'm like, oh, and then, no, we're back at war again. And as I've mentioned many times, that was actually a decision that was forced onto Blizzard. Because that was not the original intent. But they needed that whole PvP two sides thing. Because it was required, so we have this false dichotomy.
Glory to the Horde.
Ah, so you've been to the nests and placed the feathers of your prey within them. That took a fair amount of courage, no doubt about it. Do you feel a little tougher? Do you feel like you've been linked something? Oh my god. Anyways, what the hell was I saying? Do you feel a little tougher? Because you look tougher than when you first came here. I guess the Barrens is doing its job. I know, Darker. I know. Well, Ironman, I admit there's a place for you in my beloved Horde. You've shown me strength, cunning, initiative. Even Thork recently mentioned you by name, and neither of us are easily impressed. Well done. It's time to start pulling your weight. This week's payroll for the Crossroads Guard has gone missing. Gazrog is in Ratchet, heading up the investigation. Go talk to him.
Go with honor.
Right, we've got. I was actually thinking we could get North Barrens done today. I forgot the Ratchet quests are in North Barrens. Damn.
What brings you here?
Your findings are amazing. Jarek was wise to send you here. We are now know that whatever rests under these oases can create life from nothing. No doubt this is causing the havoc to the south, but my primary concern right now is preserving balance. We must study more.
We shall meet again.
What have you brought me? Thank you, Ironman. Studying the beasts of an area can tell you much about the area itself. We shall see what tales these shells tell, and possibly unravel the mystery of what's happening in the Barrens. Please accept my gratitude for your aid. And perhaps you can use these coins. I find I do not need them.
Go in peace.
I'm sorry to everyone who doesn't have this mount already. Ironman. Your reputation amongst the Horde grows. I've been hearing reports from both the Forgotten Pools and the Stagnant Oasis that you've been a real bane to our Centaur foes. Well done indeed. Regthar Deathgate is in charge of our operations against the Centaur across all the northern Barrens. He could use a bold monk like you to bolster his forces. Report to him at the outpost along the road west of here and aid him in any way he requires.
Go forth to victory.
Yes, this is the Karazhan one. We're going to go and do the Ratchet stuff now, I think. So Twitch has told me many, many times, Dutch, that I am simply too small and too irrelevant to deserve a sub button, to put it as bluntly as I can. I have attempted several times. Each time I have been getting bigger, you know, more and more viewers. The last time I attempted, was during the last big lore run, which is actually the Mass Effect one. So this is actually a little bit ago. And I was turned down rather succinctly and quickly. And I haven't actually tried to apply for one since. Okay, do you know what the Emerald Nightmare is, Lilu? And I'm not saying that as an insult. The Nightmare is not something that's rather well discussed, unfortunately. I've been working on it, Permeus. You know, I tried patting my shirt one day. It didn't work. No, Norlix. I've given up. To be as blunt as I can. If I ever actually get to the point where I meet their particular standards, and I'm considered big by their standards, then I might actually reapply. For now, I have contented myself to have lost. Well, I'll put it to you this way. The Emerald Nightmare is a specific corrupted form of the Emerald Dream, which is influenced by the old gods and demons, actually. And it is a very, very, very corruptive thing. In fact, thank you, Toaster. That's because we haven't been doing dungeons back siege. The, words. The Emerald Dream, of course, is a very powerful, potent thing. If the Emerald Dream ever interacted with the real world, it would probably be bad, too. It would just be, it would be bad in the same way that if it was normal, unchecked growth, it would be bad. It might stabilize eventually, but the problem is it would keep expanding to the point where it chokes out all other life, and we would see basically the existing ecosystem die as a result. And the new ecosystem might be better, might be worse, but the current one would be destroyed in the process. That's just the dream, because that's just unchecked growth and life, right? The Nightmare takes all of that and corrupts and twists it with the old god essence and basically infuses that life with void, which is almost the antithesis of life. Almost. And so, imagine unchecked growth of just death and void and corruptive things and turning everything into wild, ravenous, vicious beasts. Imagine animals that couldn't even properly procreate because they're too busy killing themselves. You know, that kind of a situation. Imagine plants that are killing everything around them, including themselves, and then eventually rot away and die as a result. That's what the Nightmare would be causing to affect, and that's why this is a bad thing. I don't even know, is subchat a thing? I mean, the only plans I have for subchat is to have icons, you know, the emotes. I have several I've thought of in the past, and of course to have proper support for source and scaling down to low quality or whatever, so I don't have to. And I can actually stream at full quality. Actually, right now I'm streaming at very low quality because I have to, because I am allocated such a small amount of bandwidth because I'm not a sub, I'm not a partner. And be able to be fully supported on mobile and stuff like that. That's the benefit of subbing to me. That and the money, of course.
Strength.
I was hoping for a squad of grunts, but if you've earned Sergra's respect, I suppose you'll be more than enough. Let me explain what's happened here.
Strength.
Damn it, Permeus. Damn it, Crichton. Not long ago, a shipment of silver was stolen en route, here from the crossroads. It was meant as payroll to the guards, and we want that silver back. I'll ask around here for clues, but I want you to investigate the scene of the crime. Head west and look for a crashed caravan wagon, just north of the road between here and the Barrens. Find who took our silver and take it back.
For the Horde.
For the Horde. Kong, 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 kong. One thing I wish they did more of, a few settings emphasize how much money a gold is to a normal person. And for the most part, you don't see that a lot. Like, for a normal person, 1 gold is a huge amount of money, like a whole week's salary. And this is one of the few quests that actually talks about that and emphasizes that with regards to, you know, being able to pay an entire group of guards in just silver, you know? But you don't see that all that often in WoW. As I'm running around with 914 gold and I'm poor. This Horde caravan was not merely robbed. It was savagely brutalized. Crates of supplies have been ripped apart by sharp claws. The wagon has been demolished. The food eaten. The silver gone. And yet, the useful supplies have been left behind. The animal tracks surround the wreckage. Tracks made by enormous curved claws. Raptor tracks. Your first instinct is that raptor riders assaulted the caravan, but the impressions aren't that deep, and there are no non-animal tracks to be seen. The tracks lead northeast of here. The answer to this mystery must lie in the hill's shadow. It's actually northwest, guys, northwest. Well, we're actually going to be doing some quests when we get there, Lilu, to prevent the dream and the nightmare from influencing the area, and thus chop it off at the source. So at that point, we'll just have the existing growth with none of the corruption influencing it. At least that's the ideal. Before you lies an entire community of raptors, ducking in and out of hovels, snarling at each other, working together to construct primitive huts. Collections of shiny things surround their nests. Mystery solved. It's clear these raptors acted alone to steal the Horde's silver. Time to teach the beasts a lesson. Death to the raptors. Seriously, that's what we're doing. We're killing raptors. It's okay, Subject 9's off on another planet, making his new life thing. He's fine, he's fine. Yeah, no kidding, Nether. That's the point, though. Most most fantasy settings in general have that same concept. D&D is a big example of that. In D&D, an average person makes a few silver a week. The average player deals in thousands of gold per item purchased. Yes, they do, Wraith. If we didn't, then we're screwed, Lilu. We are screwed forever. Unless we can actually, stop the Emerald Nightmare. The goal, Royal Smite, is to do this as quickly as possible, because I'm here mostly for the lore and the story, so I have no interest in actually being challenged or playing this at level or anything like that. So we are deliberately trying to ride the gray line. You'll notice this is actually a gray quest we're doing right now. If one thing Tor taught me, it's that it's better for a lore run purposes to be as high level as possible. And in fact, since I can't cheat in this game, this will have to do. Actually, I've kind of already shared it, Wraith. The only things I know about the raptors lore-wise is the fact that they are effectively another sentient sapient race that's rarely acknowledged as one. They're about on the levels of most murlocs, or some lesser gnolls, or kobolds. They could actually form a part of the mongrel horde if that concept ever came to fruition. I mean, they have an actual society and a culture of interaction and coordination. Subject 9 was just a very, very intelligent and communicative raptor, but not the only intelligent raptor. God damn it. Ah, there we go. Also, I do want to be as high level as possible, Royal. Just occurred to me for another reason, because it means I can get faster mounts sooner. And a lot of the downtime in WoW, leveling-wise, is walking from one direction to another. Yes, I'm well aware of that, call me. I'm not sure why you're bringing that up, since I want the opposite of that. Anyways, so the shorter travel time I have, the better. So, yeah. The sooner I can hit 40, the better, basically.
Blood and thunder.
You look roughened up. Did you tussle with the thieves? He opens the lock and begins counting the silver while you relate your story. What? Raptors? Just the raptors? Assaulting our caravans and looting them. Perhaps they're as intelligent as the rumors say. As if we didn't have enough problems. Now I've just got to deal with brainy lizards with a lust for coin. Here, Iron Man, you've earned a share of the silver. Thank you.
Dabu.
I do not have a level 100 character who hasn't done all the quests. I would have to make a new level 100, new character, level them to 100, without questing ever, in order to be able to do that. And I have to, and I'm not, no. No, this method works just fine.
Yo!
The raptors of the Barrens are smarter than the raptors in the other lands. Think all those smarts are hiding in their horns. If so, I could grind their horns into a powder and use it to make smart drinks. I'll make a fortune. Here's where you come in. I want the horn from the smartest raptor around. King Reaperclaw leads a whole pack of intelligent raptors on the bluffs north of Ratchet. Bring me his horn. And don't get to rip to ribbons like everyone else I've sent.
Hurry back!
I don't think I need to do these. I'll go and do this one. Wanted Captain J. Garvey of the Maiden's Dagger, charged with piracy on the open seas, kidnapping, extortion, arson, slavery, et al. Garvey recently arrived in these waters leading a crew of South Sea freebooters and was last seen assaulting Frey Island. Alright. I can go kill him. No, it's okay, Animex. I've thought about the exact method I wanted to do this lore run for some time. And really, there were only a couple of options. And I feel this method works good. We are way overleveled for each zone, so it's working out okay. It's not as fast as it could be, but leveling a character to 100 without ever doing a quest just terrified me, if I'm being honest.
I sure could use your help, kid.
Hey, Gazlo. Oh, this new friction between the Alliance and the Horde was leading to windfall profits until Admiral Hartley sailed into my harbor and started poking his brow into my business. He's been searching and seizing vessels flying Horde colors with the goal of depriving them a use of a neutral port. I'm not allowed to, about to allow some fat-fingered human cut into my profits. Give me the schematics of his flagship. Hartley's chief engineer is soaking himself at the Broken Tavern just up the hill.
Hey there, just passing through?
That dirty pirate Baron Longshore was the terror of the seas before the Alliance demolished his fleet and rounded up the survivors. Am I happy about it? Do I look like a bundle of joy and good cheer? Longshore raided my most valuable cargo before his capture. Rumor has it he buried it before he was caught. I want my goods back. Find Longshore in the Alliance camp and see if you can get him to reveal where my treasure is. Because you guys voted for me too, Toaster. The 6 playable races that were voted for in order were Death Knight, Death Knight is not a race, Worgen, Blood Elf, Dwarf, Forsaken, Pandaren, and Night Elf. Those are the ones that were voted for. So that's what we're playing as. And of course the classes that were voted for were, again, in order, Paladin, Death Knight, Hunter, Rogue, Druid, and Monk. So, yeah.
What brings you here?
I know you did, Toaster. I'm just saying, my viewers voted for what I would be playing as during the lore run. Ugh. Overall, my favorite class is easily warrior. That's been true for forever. And yes, I will Draculis. I don't remember Deutsch. You guys voted for the names too, by the way. Across most of them. Anyways, favorite race varies, but Forsaken tends to get to the top of the list. Yet another ship from my fleet has been lost to those overzealous humans from Theramore. Their new rear admiral has parked himself right off the coast here. He's boarding or sinking any vessel that doesn't heave to at his whim. Travel south along the merchant coast to his camp. Bring me the medals of his marines and deckhands. Execute his top lieutenants. Lay waste to them, as they laid waste to my fleet.
Good luck, friend.
Hey there, buddy. Can I get you a drink?
How are you?
Okay. I'll just do that then. Nothing personal, guys. There we go. Got a schematics. So this actually used to be a fully neutral port with a bunch of neutral quests. It's a lot more of a horde port now, and that's funny because that actually makes sense in lore. See, the thing is, the Alliance moved in and decided to try and restrict the Horde's access to this port, and try to just kind of take over. And for some reason, the neutral port didn't like that, so the neutral port has effectively become, in many ways, at least in lore and politics and territorial and whatnot, a Horde port. Hey, Barrens, I hate to say this, but I'm actually going to be cutting off pretty soon here. Nevertheless, welcome. We will be streaming again tomorrow like we do all day, every day until we're done, 11 a.m. to about 7 or 6 p.m. EST on average. I have to cut it off a little early-ish today because I actually am going to be dealing with some real-life stuff in a bit. But, yeah.
Keep it quick, kid. I ain't got all day.
You got the goods? This is it right here. So this flagship's called the Bellipotent. Let's see what it takes to get this nuisance to the bottom of the sea. There, hull is thinnest right here, where the crankshaft meets the paddle wheel. It's right next to the magazine. Ironmend, I can't be held responsible if some enterprising horde monk were to attach a limpet mine to the part of the hull, not even if I supplied the mine and paid him handsomely. The ship's anchored just south of here. Go get to it! And then radio me with this stolen gnome recorder. Actually, let me think about this. Hour. I've got a little more time. I'd kind of like to wrap up Ratchet before I quit for the night. So let's move to it, shall we? Oh, God. Well, thank you, Toasters. I'm glad you're enjoying, despite the fact that, you know, we're not playing Kingdom Hearts at the moment. We have played Kingdom Hearts in the past. And on my YouTube, you can see almost all the stuff. I think we're going through Birth by Sleep at the moment. On YouTube. Ugh. Okay, there we go. Trying to stretch my back out. Weird occupational hazards, am I right? Oops. I actually had something to talk about, and I've lost it now. I was talking about Ratchet. I guess I could talk about Gazlo a bit. For those of you not aware, Gazlo was a goblin who was rather well paid by Thrall to help build Orgrimmar and set up Orgrimmar in general. And he is actually generally considered one of the most brilliant architects amongst the goblin people. And it kind of shows. He also kind of helps build our Horde garrison, actually, when we get there. Hello, Brinosaurus Rex. I like the name. God damn it. I have stretches I do, Asher. I just don't do them when I'm streaming, obviously. I do them after I'm done, when I'm doing lunch. I shouldn't put that in quote-unquotes. I usually do eat during lunch, because I usually have the shakes about that point in time. So why do you think Gazlo is the worst, Lilo? Tell me why you think he's terrible. The funny thing is, Gazlo... So Gazlo was in Frozen Throne, for those of you not aware. Hang on.
What's up?
Did you get King Reaper Claw's horn? I need to test my very first smart drink. Great, you got it. Let's grind this up, mix it with some wine.
Glad I could help.
Alright, now let's try it. Oh, God, it's terrible. It's my back, NMX. Well, I guess it's both, actually. Apparently he doesn't like the taste of his own ground-up raptor horn drink. Which was mixed with wine, by the way. I'm not sure that's the best idea. Anyways, yeah, Gazlo is actually a more or less neutral force. He's actually loyal to the I can't think of the overall name of the organization. There's an overarching organization that's primarily neutral when it comes to the goblins. And the former Deutsch. And Gazlo was actually one of the formal members of it. He was paid so well for his work with Orgrimmar that he actually basically managed to crawl his way up to being just one step underneath trade prince in terms of our overall political and economic power amongst the goblin people. The Steam Weedle, thank you. So, Gazlo isn't actually a trade prince himself, but he's basically, in terms of overall influence and power, he's just below a trade prince in the cartels. And in the amongst the Steam Weedle in general. Or not the Steam Weedle, I'm sorry, the Steam Weedle is one of the groups of part of the cartel, my bad. I do have the Toaster of Wisdom, yes. It's right here. So, I find myself wondering how many of the Theramore people were just so eager to go to war with the Horde. That's interesting, Deutsch. I wonder why, because that's new. That's also unacceptable. I'll have to look into that. Anyways, the hell was I talking about? It's gone. All my thoughts are gone. I really was in the middle of talking about something and it's gone now. God damn it. I'm getting tired. Oh. Hey, it's Baron Longshore. What's up, dude?
What can I do for you?
Old... I can't do a pirate voice. Old Gazzy hasn't given up on his goods yet, has he? Well, looks like old floppy-eared gold grubber just gave me something to bargain with. I'm bound for that gallows for sure, mate. That treasure's no good for me now. Unless I can use it to buy me life. Make a deal with you. Smash these manacles and I'll tell you where the treasure's buried. On me word. And me word's good, friend. I used to be a real baron, you know.
Have a good one.
Should we? Yeah, okay.
Can I help you? For the Alliance.
I won't be running off just yet. I'll free me mates and murder my way out of here. As for you, a deal's a deal. Let's talk about that treasure. Here's the deal, mate. To protect me treasure map, I tattooed it onto me first mate's scalp. Of course, he's dead now. Along with most of me crew. The Alliance doesn't even know what they have. His severed head is hanging from a tree at the entrance to the camp. Wow, Alliance are great. Hey, look, it's a bunch of pirates trying to convince a dog to give them the key with a bone. Anywho, the Theramore people, I find myself very much wondering how eager they were to go to war with the Horde. We know at least a few of them were already against Jaina's idea of peace with the Horde. That was kind of a common thread back in the day. And we also know that a lot of them were actually more loyal to her father than to her. And her father was a very kill every orc that ever existed kind of a guy. Absolutely no mercy, absolutely no anything. He was flat out genocidal when it came to orcs. So, again, I find myself wondering how many of the Theramore people were like, we will do our duty for the Alliance. And how many of them are like, God, I cannot frickin' wait to go murder some orc scum. Because you gotta imagine there's at least some of both. Okay, so in pure gameplay terms, someone playing a Pandaren will actually be able to experience Burning Crusade and Northrend and Cataclysm, obviously. In terms of lore, any character made as of now does not actually go through the Burning Crusade or Northrend unless they, unless they want to pull an MMO time thing and say that their character was around since before the Cataclysm, which they can do, of course. You know, it's funny you say that, Lilu. Gazlo was always... Whenever I would check the stats, he was always a very low-tier character. Now, Stitches... Stitches was kind of crazy. I have seen some people use Gazlo to good effect, only on very certain maps, though. Like the undead one. I don't remember what it's called, but the one you go back and forth between the mine and kill all the skeletons to make the bone golem. That one. Alright, let's go and destroy the crap out of this ship, shall we? Mistweaver is a good healer, yes. A little complicated, but still good. Let's see. There we go. Kaboom! And the ship doesn't sink. What? The ship didn't... It's still floating? Hartley must have moved the munitions ashore in case the ship was mined. I underestimated you, Hartley. But for the last time. Hartley must have unloaded all his ordnance on the beach. Let's pull his teeth out, Iron Man. Run along the shore and look for his munition stockpiles. Light him up and he'll be landlocked and unarmed while the Bellipotent is repaired. And I'll meet you back here in Ratchet. Yeah, Gazlo really does not like the Alliance's way of doing things here. Can't really blame them. See, allow me to explain one of the reasons I have been anti-Alliance for a while. I'm not anymore. You know, I've seen too much of both sides to really be anti either. But back in the day, especially in the early quests of Old Vanilla and whatnot, the overall approach to things was the Horde were desperately trying to survive, and so would do unpleasant things in order to survive. And that's bad. I will freely admit that. The Alliance would act like they were being kind and generous and tolerant in allowing the Horde to barely survive. And anytime the Horde tipped their toes over the line at all, the Alliance immediately counterattacked with all the force and fury they could muster, because screw them. We allowed the Horde to exist. They should have been grateful that we allowed them to exist. And now that they're back, you know, I hate that attitude problem. Now, since then, that is not really true anymore. As of WoW Vanilla, the Alliance were much, much more the bad guys than the Horde. As of WoW now, both sides are the bad guys. It's just a matter of having some good people and some bad people amongst the overall mass of both. So that's why I don't really say I am either Horde or Alliance at this point in time. Because I'm not. Yep, that's what I thought. Also, walking mounts are fantastic for certain zones, questing-wise. Like, seriously, some zones go from being really, really irritating to awesome because you have water walking mounts. There's one quote that I absolutely hate in Pandaria. If you approach Anduin as a horde, there's a stupid line where your character, you don't have to click it, but your character can say, "That's the Prince of Stormwind. We should totally go capture him." And you are, of course, scolded for being an idiot when you say so. Because he's there on an errand of peace in a neutral territory. So, I mean, seriously, you know, what else need to be said? But, yeah. Oh my god, we're back in the Howling Fjord all of a sudden. Anyways. But yeah, every time I see that quote, I'm like, what? My Horde character is not that stupid. God damn it. I know. I get why the quote is there. I get why it's an option to click it. But damn it. Okay, so these 4 reps are the ones I was referring to. These 4 reps are actually part of The Steam Wheel Cartel, I was right. So yeah, whoever said earlier that it was the Steam Wheel Cartel was actually correct. So yeah, the Steam Wheel Cartel is the overall neutral goblin faction, and the one that overall has the most power, I'd say, of all the factions, period, of all the various goblin cartels. The Venture Company may have a lot going for them, and they do. I won't argue that. But, damn it, I'm gonna have to do this, aren't I? But, most of that comes at the expense of their influence. Hang on. Oh my god. Work. It's been just weird lately. I'm not really sure what's up with that. Anyways, you know, if you put a gun to my head and said I have to pick a faction, well, that's a no-brainer for me. I'd go with the Horde. As much as Varian has grown a brain, and I have a lot of respect for Mirrodin, and, you know, the overall Alliance races, for the most part, are not exactly what I'd call terrible. I'll take the devil I know, which is Sylvanas at this point, and a score of good leaders who are trying to do the best they can. And again, as I've said many times, are more united than they have ever been, and have bonds of fellowship and brotherhood unmatched, which is the remaining Horde. Then go with the Alliance, who at this point are somewhat allied, somewhat unified. This is such a weird mount when you're not on the water. It's got the best special, though.
How may I help?
Fill my hand with medals from their dead, and I will know vengeance has been given to my fallen privateers. I see you've made the righteous Rear Admiral suffer as I have. Perhaps this blow will weaken the resolve of Northwatch. His supply of fresh recruits seems inexhaustible, but the loss of his top lieutenants will weaken him for some time.
Be careful.
I actually agree with you, Wraith. Changes to mounts. I don't even know what you're talking about, so I suppose no, but in general, if you want to spoil something, I ask that you whisper it to me rather than say it in chat, because there are lots of my viewers who are trying to enter a no-man scenario and don't want to have any spoilers or any information whatsoever.
Welcome to Ratchet. Hope you're looking for work.
What's happening? Something I can help you with? Goods to ship, an engineering job? That sort of business. You know, these pirates are always looking for their own. No sooner is Baron Longshore in a stockade than this Garvey fellow comes looking for vengeance. You don't suppose anyone will come to avenge Garvey, do you? Maybe I should put you on retainer.
Hey there. Just passing through?
Beautiful work, Iron Man. Those Alliance cretins will never trace this back to me. Meanwhile, it's back to business as usual. Smuggling, double dealing, price gouging. I got a lot of work to catch up on. Here, I'll let you in on a cut of my future profits. Enjoy.
Welcome to Ratchet. Hope you're looking for work.
What's this? I send you out to fetch my treasure and you bring me a big filthy head?
Keep it quick, kid. I ain't got all day.
Oh, shit. So he's gonna go shave the head really quick. Which is kind of gross. Sink me, you were right. There's a map tattooed on the skull. That cursed Baron. He buried my treasure right on my nose. Or above my head, anyway. The map points to a place on the bluffs just over Ratchet. Follow the road out of the city, and then do all these instructions to go get to it. Okay, I'll go do that. What is the opposite of synergy? Chaos, I don't know.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Have a good one.
Those requests heading elsewhere. So I don't think Sylvanas will break the Horde, but I think it's likely that she may help unify the Horde even more, for basically the same reason that Garrosh did. Hi, here's one big overarching threat that needs to be dealt with. So, why are you giving away my B-net? Besides, I meant whispers in Twitch, where other people can't see it. I don't know if I 100% agree with that, Wraith. I absolutely agree that the way she's doing it is immoral. Let's make that clear. And... oh, wow. I should have died, except I'm a Pandaren. And we'll be talking about how incredibly messed up it is that what Sylvanas is doing to the Forsaken once we get to our Forsaken character. But I think there's plenty of people who would probably take the chance to have an opportunity to keep going. One thing, I would really love, and I tell you what, if we see a new Forsaken character introduced, who's a major character and has a lot of character development, and most importantly, has a voice actor, I'll tell you right now, the plot they're going to be doing, the moment they do that, the moment that they, I thought they undid that, Dutch. Like, I thought they flat out said they're undoing that because of feedback. Anyways, if we have a new Forsaken character introduced, it means Sylvanas is going to be a full-on killable character, and then we're going to kill her, and that new named Forsaken character is going to take over the Forsaken. And I got to be honest, I kind of like the idea of that. The idea of the whole Horde, including the majority of the Forsaken who are not horribly evil. He doesn't count, Wraith. Who are not horribly evil, saying, we don't want to deal with you and your crap anymore, Sylvanas. We are already hated because of the garbage that happened to the Wrathgate, and that wasn't even our fault, but you let that happen. But we stayed loyal to you, and then you had us go and commit atrocities, and we're kind of tired of it, so, yeah. I like that idea a lot.
I sure could use your help, kid.
But of course, there is no new, character to do that yet. I'm gonna close my eyes, Iron Man, and when I open them, I expect to see a wall-to-wall treasure. Deal? Ah, nice work. Oh, when the Baron tried to stop you, did he? I hope you gave him a pounding. Now, I promised you a cut of the goods you recovered. Let's see. What's half of 1%? Ah, here you go. Enjoy your cut of the loot. I hate to share. Business is business. And that double dealer nozzle pot is guaranteed a 10% cut of this treasure. Can you deliver to him at this outpost to the north? He's got a little research station upstream along the river. If you travel northeast of here, the Hornblower can give you a free ride on the riverboat. See, the problem is Lillian Voss hasn't done anything. We do know she's alive, by the way. Warlords confirmed that Lillian Voss actually survived the events of Kata. But that's it. Also, I'm not sure Lillian is stable enough of a person to become the new Dark Lady equivalent. High Executor or whatever. Still, I wouldn't mind seeing that. I wouldn't mind seeing more of Lillian Voss. She's actually a really, really interesting character to me. And let's just say that a lot of her reactions to things were very, very understandable. By the way, I love this. This is what a goblin boat looks like. If you're asking why the Christmas lights are there, you just don't understand. Ooh, that was a bit of a squeeze. The rest of the trip should be a bit of a breeze. Ba-ba-da-ba-da. I'm gonna see something here really quick, just because I'm curious. Up. Let's see. Yep, looks like that's what I thought. She did survive, but that's it. Oh, we do. Deutsch. Come on, man. Uh-oh. Are we going to make it under the bridge? Anyways, I'm basically cutting off here. I need to start getting going and getting ready for RL stuff. So, tomorrow we're going to finish up the North Barrens, which is going to be funny because we literally just have, like, 3 quest hubs left. So, North Barrens is going to be really, this is going to be really easy and quick and simple. And then we'll go ahead and start off the great story arc of the war between the Alliance and the Horde. So, I will see you guys tomorrow.